Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of the Floor 26 podcast, the show made by young people for everybody. My name is Adam Duffy, and today I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Parsa Pahlevankhah.
What up?
And a good friend of the show, special guest, Owen Snape.
Thank
everybody.
Clap for him, Adam.
Clap for him, Adam. So we clap. We clap for almost all of our guests, and I get it wrong maybe 90% of the time.
I don't see why it wouldn't be yellow.
I think I've clicked yellow before, and it's laughter. Yellow's laughter.
So would it be blue?
I think it's blue. All right, Owen, don't get mad at me if this is like booze.
Or drums.
Perfect.
Really loud, but
Yep.
I don't know why we picked blue for clapping.
I have no clue. I think it was your choice. So
I think it was your choice.
No, it wasn't.
You had your laptop out.
because you want it like whatever the fuck yellow is to be yellow.
Well, because yellow makes me feel like laughter. Like
Yeah.
Yellow is a jovial color.
Yeah, but like honestly, I feel like we use clap more than anything, so it should just be our second button.
We should just have two buttons on there.
Yep.
Music and clapping.
Just turn them all to
Oh,
claps.
and of course, the air horns.
We keep that bitch on white.
Owen, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here and excited for to see you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know.
It has been a while. You're out at SCAD right now, right?
I'm at NC State actually. Up
No,
in, North
okay,
Carolina.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I think-
Okay,
yeah,
I don't know
no
why I
worries.
mix it up. Probably just because of the work you do. But North Carolina State, how's that?
It's great. It's great. I love it. I hadn't really been to North Carolina at all until I went there, and it's an interesting city for sure. It's,
Did you go on for a tour?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
And I went in like January or whatever that year. But yeah, actually, I like it a lot. The state is great, and the school, it's a farm school, which I didn't really realize going in. And so it's like the design program's really good, engineering's really good, and then it's like agriculture. It's the weirdest like dichotomy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, so there's a lot of people that ask their major, just making conversation. They'd be like farming, and I'm like, why are you at school for
Farming major. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Hey man, we need more of those around.
I don't think we do, because I think as time progresses, like you need less people manning farms because like one guy will make food for like an entire state because he just has like that huge farm with all the machines working the shit. So I don't know what the prospects of farming graduates are after college.
I mean, honestly, their families probably own a farm. And Mute too.
Yeah, but I'm wondering like, I mean, what do you do with a farming degree besides like, sure, you can go work on the family farm, but you need a college degree for that. Besides maybe like the knowledge that comes with it.
Yeah,
Do you have any farming friends?
So I've got one friend he's more in like the kind of the engineering in agriculture, which is a little bit interesting because I think that's kind of like a useful, really
For
super
sure,
interesting
for
degree.
sure.
He's super interested in like renewable energy and like how that plays into agriculture, that kind of stuff, which I think is fascinating. But I think so. There's a lot of people that are doing like I think their family has a farm already, and so they want to go to get a degree for it, but they already know so much because they like grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know people that just went right back to their family farm, and I think a lot of it might have to do with like the business of it, like agribusiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So
It's fascinating.
yeah,
I took agriculture a lot in high school.
really,
That shit was fun.
horticulture.
Oh,
Yeah.
you grew fucking flowers in a greenhouse.
Dude, we did not grow shit. Like, if I'm being serious, we didn't grow anything.
Well, you were just unproductive.
I mean,
You were
like,
too busy pissing in plants, buddy.
that was not me, and you know that. But the whole point of that class, like, the only reason I took it is because I was at such a high level that I didn't need to do anything.
A high level of
Like, in the
Horticulture.
class, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah.
like everybody was, like, intro and, like, the second class, and I was, like, third and fourth, and I was just sitting in the back of the class, like, running errands.
I can really commend a lot of the STEM programs from our high school. I mean, obviously, you were pretty invested in. Why am I blanking on the name?
like drafting.
Yeah,
and stuff?
yeah, and like obviously we were video kids, but I guess horticulture might be a place where it fell off maybe a little bit. Although they did do a lot of good things, like the Wheeler Fresh project where they grew food for hungry families. I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Apparently, you didn't help in it at all, but like
I did actually. I made the shelves for the like canned foods and the box foods and stuff
okay.
like that. So I'm not gonna say it because I'm already on like my fifth cuss word this episode. But you know what I was gonna say.
So Owen, you recently made this thing called the Endo collection, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And essentially, can you run me through exactly what it is? What you like? What would you best define it as? Because I think I could create a word, but I don't know if it would be the best one to use.
So basically, it's kind of it's an idea that I had in early January of this year, so roughly like 6 months ago.
Okay.
And so the entire kind of premise of it is as like an inspiration, and so that's coming right now in the form of clothing because so I'm in school for design and love that kind of stuff, and so I think of it as basically a way to inspire people through wearing something that they enjoy, and to kind of serve as a reminder to to like follow what they want to do. And I think it's really hard to describe because it's so driven by like emotion and kind of feelings.
Yeah.
It's very loose. So I've had a hard time trying to contain that and put it in a box.
For sure.
But I think the biggest point of it is, so endo means within. It's like a scientific whatever goes at the beginning of the word.
A prefix or
Prefix,
something.
yeah. And so it means within. And so the whole concept is that I got really into kind of like self-development stuff, and the idea that basically you have all the power to do anything what you want from within you. And so for things like this, like the podcast and passion projects, which I think passion's overused as a word, and I feel like it kind of is a very broad idea.
Yeah.
But people know what you mean when you say passion, and so I feel like it's kind of the inspiration to follow those kind of things that are really what you want to do, because things like a podcast, things like what I'm doing with clothing, things like that people wouldn't see as traditional jobs or ways to make money, I think can really turn into something incredibly successful because you're so passionate about it and so feel so strongly about it. So that wasn't really a great answer to your question, but
no, thanks for giving a breakdown of it. And I've had when I'm looking through stuff like your website and your bios that where you've been talking about it. I've been really interested in a lot of the points you've been talking about, how the idea that creativity is not only sometimes I would say misdefined or not defined in the right way in our contemporary society, but then also that creativity is held within everyone to a large extent, and everyone has the ability to do a lot of good things, even though a more contemporary view would be that only certain people have the both creativity and the means to create something good and to help other people. And I was curious, I guess, when I'm thinking about that whole message, is that something that like you said, when you created the project back in January, was that the ideology behind it? Was that something that you had learned a long time ago and it built up towards that, or was it something that came to you sort of hand in hand with when you started the project?
So I think it's kind of a combination of both. One, because like I grew up as like my dad is a graphic design teacher, my mom was like a medical illustrator, so I'm from a very artistic family. So I've always kind of been in the traditional and like very normal sense of creative as like artsy kind of family. And so, but then once I got to school, and school kind of had changed a lot of my perspective on things. And so I realized that a lot of people that are there are creative in their own ways. For example, like math or projects that really people wouldn't see as artsy, because a lot of times artsy is correlated with creative.
Yeah.
And so I think it was kind of a combination of both of those things. And then once I started it, because it was really an idea. I know a lot of people talk about how like ideas really didn't come from them. It was just kind of like just happened all of a sudden, and like or thinking about it in the shower or driving or something. And it was very much one of those things where it just kind of like came to me almost. And so I think that kind of idea that, and I think that's why it feels so successful. And like in my head, it feels like it's something that's going to become really big, because it felt like something that wasn't really from me. It was like kind of just appeared in my head.
Okay, for sure.
And so, but I think that to your point about creativity, and I think the idea that Endo is trying to represent is that creativity is more than just being artsy. It's things like this for a podcast, which people would see as like a project that might not be creative. It's like a business venture or something like that. And so creativity can exist in all forms of anything that's creation. So like a new business, or entrepreneurship, and anything like that. I think creativity exists in there. So
I feel like a lot of people are like you said, like they're creative with like math and shit like that. But like when somebody likes something enough and they're like so into it, there we go again, like back to the word like passion. Like when they're so passionate about something, you'd be surprised, one, how like smart they can be in it, and like one, how much they know about it, and three, like how creative they can get with it. Like I have some friends that like people perceive them as like not the brightest people, but when I hear them like talk about like the things that they're passionate about and you know every little detail, and they're like, I want to do this, do this, do this. I'm like, you know, you go for it, bro. Like don't be held back because like somebody like calls you an idiot because like you show yourself as that, and that's your personality, but behind closed doors, like I know how smart you are and that you should go for that. And another thing, like the letter that came with this, beautiful letter.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, so you just I guess on that, so you just released a new T-shirt with the tagging of the Vault of Eternity, which I thought was pretty metal, pretty tight. I guess with that, so back to the point of like trying to define exactly what you're doing here within this sort of collection. You have smaller projects, or at least like sub projects, like this new T-shirt. And what was the ideology behind that? Because I remember seeing a lot of the messages. I saw the letter too once I got mine, and I was just curious what your ideology was when you created those.
So there's a bunch of different ideas that I feel like kind of like different facets of the idea that Endo becomes. And so this is one example of, like, the shirt was one example of something that I thought was important to the idea of Endo. So the concept is called Vault of Eternity, and the idea is that on the front of the shirt, which Parsa is graciously wearing right now, is like a bank vault. And so it's like an open bank vault, and it's placed over your heart. And then the back is, oh, lovely Parsa.
Jesus Christ, Parsa.
Love it. The back is this, these like curling kind of tendrils of color. And so the idea is that, all these ideas and, business inspirations, all these kind of magical things that can really go and change the world are just from within. And so it's the idea of opening this vault. And so like letting out what's on the back. So letting out those curling tendrils of color, which represent creativity and originality and all that kind of stuff, and opening up to the world and, bringing it into life instead of just letting it be an idea. So.
Yeah. And I think this is a pretty recurring idea that I have a lot, but I definitely agree with you that I think a lot more people have the capacity to be very creative, and in the sense that they're able to be innovative in any field, not just anything very directly related to art, but in all of these different areas. But I think that a big problem that we see lately, and this is something we talked about a lot with our friend Milos when he was on the show. He's a rapper who went to SCAD for a while and then dropped out. And a lot of times in our society, both at a young age and both at a higher education and onwards, creativity is stifled a lot for a few reasons. I think one, the reality of the situation is that in a lot of creative fields, whether those be in direct art ways, which is I guess more so prevalent, or in other ways, it's very hard to be monetarily successful by being creative, by especially in projects related to art, because we don't have a very good system in place to
that promotes
support
creativity.
Where the only way to really make it based off of your creativity alone is to be like exceptionally good and to stand out from the rest of them and to have a certain level of luck. But at like a base level, a level that could be held within everyone, I think maybe a reason why we don't see a lot of that being access to is because of the way we model both our education at a lower and higher levels, where we trying to think of the concept, but we sort of tell children that it's very hard to be creative and like make it be successful with it.
The starving artist.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I guess just thinking, I mean, obviously when we're thinking of ways where you can apply creativity into a way that put food on the table, you can sell clothes that make money. You can have a show and all those things. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, how would you say it's a good way to move forward, trying to bring creativity out of more people and push those into fields to help innovate them?
So I think the biggest thing, because obviously like the concept like what you're describing, starving artist of some guy just painting whatever paintings in his living room, and that's all he does and makes no money and whatever, and that concept is very real, and a lot of people struggle with that. So I think that the way to kind of follow that idea or dream or whatever you're what Endo's representing, all that kind of that category, is to one, like, it's not gonna be possible to just drop everything and like just start doing that. That's just not like realistic, and it's also probably not the best way to do it at all. And in my opinion, I think the best way is like, one, to continue with whatever job or however you're making money, whatever you're doing already to make a living. And then what people often realize is what they do in their spare time is probably something that they're passionate about that they can turn into a side business or something like that they really enjoy. So, for example, like Jack, who has streamed before, and like Davis, I don't know if you guys know Davis, but who has streamed before. And so, if you get home from work from your 9 to 5 and you just play video games for 8 hours because you love it, and then you go to bed and then you do that every day, you can stream that. And like, so turning, realizing what you're doing in your free time and realizing that a lot of times, that activity is something that you really love, that you're really passionate about, that you could put on the internet somewhere and find a group of people that are really passionate about that as well, and then develop a community and people and kind of generate momentum from there. And so I think that, a lot of people talk about like, if you're going to go for something, like cut off all plan Bs so you're forced to do plan A. And like, I think that's like kind of inspirational, but not really realistic.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was actually just about to ask, because even I've had that mentality before where, well, I guess to the point of like, work your 9 to 5, but then, try to continue pursuing your passions. But it's, and I definitely agree with that sentiment. But I was just thinking what you think about the idea that a lot of people will say that their 9 to 5s or like their general hustle, like prevents them from fully activating the creativity and passion that they put into a side project like that, and is thus making it like futile to continue on. I was just wondering if you think there's credibility that certain people should go off the deep end and see how it works. And obviously it's the thing that happens and it has a iffy success rate, but some people sort of needed that.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of that is like just a mental kind of thing. Is like when you make that jump, that's you're putting yourself in the situation where you're forced to figure out how to make ends meet some way or another. And so I think that, for some people, like I feel like whatever I'm saying doesn't apply to anyone in any way. And so there's always, going to be outliers. And so I feel like that is definitely something that if you feel like that's, a really great way that, your brain works and that would help you a lot, I think, go for it, follow whatever you think is best for you. But I also think it's kind of like, if that project you're not really, spending a lot of time on it and you feel like you're stifled because you're 9 to 5 or, whatever you're doing, you're bigger, making a living.
Yeah.
I think that also might be a sign that that's not really something that you should follow, which is not to discourage people from like following, things like that. But I think that once people find something like that they really love, like I'm sure you've found with this podcast, it might be hard at some points, but there's this kind of bigger goal that it's weird because you just know that you're not going to stop. And like, it's just kind of, it's like, that you have to keep going. And it's this internal, like, just like if I signed up for this and I'm going to do this, and then you just love it. And so it's, just kind of keeps going, which don't really know if that made much sense, but,
I feel like for somebody that like wants to do something like after their 9 to 5, you get home tired, but there's like, you just got to figure out how you work. Like me and Adam were talking about this a couple other episodes. Like nobody should know you better than you.
Exactly.
So like if I know I get home tired every day, I'm going to drink a full Red Bull 3 hours before I leave work. So when I get home and I take that shower, I don't want to instantly go to bed. I eat my food. I don't go take that like food coma nap. I go get started with what I want to do. And, like you can figure out loopholes around it, but a lot of people like end up being hopeless in what they want to do. And they're like, oh, I'm tired today. I don't want to do it. I'd rather just sit here and watch this TV and then go to sleep in like 4 hours. It's just that.
Yeah. And that's why even with what I've done, because I only have kind of one thing I've released. I've done a lot of work on it, but the hardest thing for me, I think for anyone, is to start. Because once you start, I feel like, that one day, all you have to do is sit down and say like, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes and then leave. And you have no commitment besides 10 minutes. And what I found when I do that, when I have super low motivation, is that I'll sit down and I'll work for 10 minutes and then it doesn't even matter. I'm already in it and, enveloped in, what I'm doing and love it again. And so I think the biggest thing is like, there's this idea of, 1% every day and kind of like just tiny little steps. And I think that might be, that it might work for some people is almost like 10 minutes every day. I'm going to do this for just that tiny time. And if I do it for more, great. If not, no big deal. I did my 10 minutes for the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to make consistent progress, because that's something I've struggled with, is consistency. Because I a lot of times will like work when I have a lot of motivation for like hours and hours and days.
Yeah.
And then I go through a period where I am not motivated and I lose that consistent streak. So I think that like 10 minutes has worked for me, and I think is a great starting point for a lot of people.
Have you been keeping up with Zach?
Zach Adkins?
Yeah.
I saw his 1% harder thing. Yeah. I haven't kept up with him besides like just seeing his posts.
Yeah. And with that, where you're saying that you should, commit very small amounts of effort into something to reach a larger goal over time. I do think a big problem that a lot of people run into when they're thinking of, aspirations towards doing something bigger is not being able to fully roadmap the steps it takes to get there, where you say where you are and you look to where you want to be and you instantly say that I'm going to work towards that. When in reality, a much more efficient mentality is to establish your starting point and your end point, and then disregarding where that is, however far it is down the road, only working, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do the next day? Because I think if you wake up every morning and you think, I want to work towards that passion of mine, but you see how far it is off in the distance, that's it's sort of like the tower in the distance that you're walking towards. It's never going to get any closer unless you sort of really, if you really labor over the steps you're taking to get there. You really focus on the 1, 2, next day, 1, 2 steps to get there, and then eventually it will come closer without you even realizing it. But if you only just look off at the horizon trying to get towards that without any real idea of how to get there, or being able to break it down into smaller goals, then it's very difficult to do. But then also, again, we're talking all this about how, if you're working a 9 to 5, but you want to do something creative, just, get to know yourself better, or, just put in the extra effort. But like we see, like, it's not just as easy as saying, put in the extra effort or change your mentality. There has to be credible and tangible ways that things that you can change about yourself, or things that you can do to help get you more motivated into doing something. Parts of those are, taking walks into the deep end, whether it's like, not sacrificing your job entirely or whatever you're doing, but definitely cutting out something from your life to make space for a lot of stuff. Whether that's like, it could be like a few extra hours off your job, or it could be some sort of thing that's holding you down, like an addiction or another hobby habit or something like that. I've cut out a lot of addictions over the past year or so, and it's interesting once they're finally gone, the space that's left over to do extra stuff. You don't see it until it's finally open, but I think that's a big thing that can help people. But I guess that's even more because that has a lot of steps to it, and so it's not just as easy as saying get rid of it. So what I try to focus on a lot, especially when we're talking about accessing creativity within people, is just small, like tangible steps that people can take to help activate that more in themselves. And so I don't know if you've thought of like that concept at all, or like what steps people could take. I haven't even done that very much, but it's I guess it's just something I would focus most on. Yeah,
that's 100%, because I think I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in because of, the way I've grown up and kind of the people I've surrounded myself with. And so, like the idea that taking small steps and how hard some of those small steps are for people, given the situations, what they're going through. I think I was very grateful where a lot of that stuff kind of came down to the environment I was raised in. And so I, like it wasn't necessarily as difficult for me because I had been, this sounds really weird. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it, but
for sure.
That I might not have thought about that enough because I didn't even have to go across that, which, might, kind of come across as that, like as cocky, but I'm trying to like say that basically, in doing this, I haven't come across as nearly as many challenges as some people have. And so the advice that I'm giving, or like whatever I'm saying, might be, seem, super difficult because I haven't really had that experience myself as well.
I totally understand. Yeah. And, when I work, on this show with 3 other people, and all of us are, grew up very different lives, whether you moved here from Iran, or you grew up in, deep Mormon Utah, or if you grew up in Detroit, or Jack, who literally hasn't moved from the house that's 60 feet that way, his whole life. But with all these things, all these places people come from, we're trying to work towards a singular goal. And, that's sort of the thing where you're trying to take a lot of people's different life experiences and the way they approach something, and trying to focus all of those to the same drive. And it's hard sometimes. Definitely, you know, nothing that I do to help push me forward, it can apply really to any of them. You know, it's something I've noticed that you kind of have to motivate. We kind of have to. We all get motivated by different things, but we're all working towards the same goal.
You know, a lot of, there I go saying a lot of people, but when you start something new and you're so into it and you're invested, it gets to a point where things start to hold you back, and you're like, okay, I can't reach my full potential if I sleep in until like 11. Like, this is like a common thing for people like our age. Like, you can't get stuff done when you go to sleep at 4 and then wake up at 11, and then you're tired, and then you just can't get anything done because you wake up unmotivated. For me, like, that was like one of my biggest problems. I just had a really bad sleeping schedule. You know what I did? Bought a pack of sleep tea, threw that thing in at 11 o'clock, knocked out by 11:30.
Interesting.
Wake up at 8.
A lot of substances helping you out.
It's herbal, so screw you.
I'm just saying, like it's like a Red Bull to get you motivated in the day, and then it's a sleeping tea to get you. Like, I'm saying literally.
Yeah. So like, and you got to use some stuff to your advantage. You know, there are things there are things that help you out, and that's the whole point of them existing. Because if you could do all of that by yourself, then you're superhuman and you've already probably made it. But for somebody that's just starting to get started and that are being held back by like their bad habits, you start to feel the need to cut things out and get things in and just improve yourself as a person, because if you don't improve on yourself, you're not going to be able to improve on your craft.
Exactly, yeah. And I think too, like, a lot of these, when you come across obstacles, it's really, you know, those substances and things like that, it's a weird word to use, but like things like that are not, you know, like crutches to lean on at all. They're like things to help you. I feel like a lot of times people are like, well, I'm going to do this without anything. And a lot of times it's more helpful to have like people and things like that are just there to help you and push you when you aren't able to do it, because very few people have, you know, sat down and decided I'm going to do this thing and done it completely themselves with no help, you know, anything like that. And so I think it's important in those moments where you don't have motivation, or, you know, you're not feeling great about it, to go to other people that are also doing the same thing, or, you know, have the same mentality, or friends, or just something like that to push you. That's external when you are struggling internally. Yeah.
I mean, we have a built-in network for not getting lazy, because if I'm laying in my bed during any given day and I'm not doing anything for the show, I get a text from somebody like Parsa or TJ, and they'll just say like they'll ask me about this or this, and they'll ask me about
we'll
this or
relate
this.
Things, and then like it'll bring it back up to your head. Like,
well, it's like I can't get away from it because there's 4 of us here. But I guess, like, do you just talk to, like, if you are finding this like stint of where you don't want to work, or you're lacking creativity, do you have means of sort of getting yourself back on, or, you know, doing work even though you don't want to?
Yeah. So I have, you know, certain things that I do, like working out. For me, exercise is always like an incredible stress reliever and like just clears your head and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I've got a friend that's also super into entrepreneurial things. She's starting basically this company called Vision, which is it's like a marketplace. So it's a combination of like Airbnb and Fiverr. So for like in-person photographers and stuff, so you can book that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we kind of push each other when each other are, you know, in tough spots. And so I think that's what's been the most helpful, is having someone like that to kind of lean on. And I'm sure you guys have that with each other, like you just said with the podcast. I think.
Go ahead. I
just think like having a person like that is the most beneficial thing when you want to start something.
I'm a big believer in like teams and partners. I'm a big believer in like other people have strengths that you don't, and they can help you with that. 1, they can help you learn. 2, they can keep you motivated. And 3, you never feel alone in something if you have your partners. Like, for example, for almost everything I do, I always like to have a partner with me. Me and Adam, like, when we first were gonna get started, I was just like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this by myself. And I had no doubt that Adam was gonna be like, no, screw you, because I know me and Adam have enough interest in the same things that we would have both been on the same wavelength, and we're both like we're both enough passionate about this that we would go a long way, and that's a big thing when you're getting started in something new, because if somebody's not bought in as you, then eventually they'll fall off, and you're either going to fall off with them, or you're going to have to buy into another person to pick up like their not workload, but rather their role on the team. You have to just sub them out.
For sure. I mean, like having two like minds towards anything that you do, like in general, like whether it's just interacting with people, having just like two people are a lot more powerful than just twice as good as one person.
Exactly.
It's like it's like an exponential effect where I purchased all the equipment, and obviously this takes place in my basement and all that, but like there is like no chance in hell that I could have done like any of this without like any of the guys, because it's just this weird, and I guess that goes to like the tower in the distance, like a goal that's really far away and seems completely unapproachable. It's extremely difficult to make a journey like that on your own, where it's like you need someone by your side either pushing or pulling on you to help get you there. And I guess what's interesting is that, you know, obviously you met the person that helps you out in college. I know Parsa's made a lot of friends in college and all that, but I haven't gone to my university yet. For a whole year I didn't go, and I'm going to be going at least in some part next year. But what's interesting is that I'll be interested to see. I guess I'm just trying to relate the idea that I'm excited to meet new people, because I haven't met a new person in over a year, like a new person that I can interact with, and it's I've hung out with the same 7 people for like almost a year and a half now.
Dude, meeting new people in college is great.
Oh yeah.
Like the people that I found in college is like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have those people, like as a person, because like especially like me and my friend group, like same thing, like partners in teams, like my gym partners in my like friend group, he gets me going every day, like everything we do, like he just makes me more invested in it. And I'm like, okay, I don't see myself putting this away now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, we're all like just incredibly like motivated to just improve as people and like just become better.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one thing that like you'll find in college, because everybody's, at the end of the day, if you're with the right people, everybody's trying to succeed in their way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the University of North Carolina, is that the Tar Heels?
Yeah. I do go to NC State.
NC State. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no
No,
worries.
I for some reason I was thinking about that. And so do you have a football team?
Yeah, we do. So we're the Wolfpack, most terrible football team. It's like the equivalent of Wheeler, basically. Like super good at basketball, really good at soccer.
Okay, interesting. I was gonna ask, like, living in North Carolina, like, just like running through like the stereotypes that come to your head immediately. How is that? Do you think it's like, is it pretty similar to Georgia, just being like a very southern state, the southern hospitality, people like that, or is it different in a meaningful way?
It's a lot of the same. So NC State is like located right in Raleigh, which is the capital.
Yeah.
And so in Raleigh, a lot of people describe it as a mini Atlanta, and it feels similarly to that, not in the size or anything like that, but the kind of people that are there, and the like when you look around, it feels like kind of a kid of Atlanta.
Okay.
So it feels very similarly to the area.
Yeah.
But it's definitely different in a lot of ways, just because I think North Carolina, there's more. I feel like Georgia's like there's Atlanta, and then there's nothing else. Like,
yeah, for the most part.
There's like Metro Atlanta, and then it's
yeah.
It's farms and land.
Mm-hmm. And not that North Carolina isn't farms and land, but there's like some other cities kind of spread out. So I feel like
it's cool. Okay.
It's a little bit more spread out, and there's mountains and stuff too. Which is,
oh my god,
that's
pretty cool.
But mountains. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm from the Salt Lake Valley, where literally I live in a place, and then like 100 miles all around you is just like the tallest mountains in North America. And so like I am so used to seeing mountains, and especially since out west there's no trees, you can see like the entire city around you because there's no trees blocking you. But here is the exact opposite. No mountains behind the trees, but you can't see like if you get up on a high point around Georgia, you're just gonna
see mountains.
You're just gonna see trees. You're just gonna see trees. But I guess I came up with this analogy recently where I said, like, in Georgia we're building around the trees, but in Utah you have to like build trees around. You have to plant trees around where you build, because it's a desert out there. But yeah, I miss a mountain, honestly. Like, I guess the Appalachian Mountains aren't like huge and all, but like that. But like, I don't know, man. That just came to mind as soon as I heard the word mountain. Yeah. It's so flat here.
Big mountain guy.
Well, I guess like By mountains, do you mean like are there actual like mountains that like have snow on the tips of them all year, or?
So it's not really. I mean, it's kind of like more like hills, like North Georgia mountains, but there's a little bit bigger, like kind of like tiny bit bigger, enough where you can ski. So there's a bit of skiing.
Cool.
Which is probably like the most bare bones skiing ever. It's like they throw down some water and freeze it, and then you just ski down the hill. But
that's hilarious.
But
yeah. What was cool is that a lot of Utah, especially like Salt Lake City elementary schools, have a after school program with the ski lodges around the state. And so for like 3 years in elementary school, me and my brother, every day after school during the wintertime, you get your stuff on, you get on a bus, and you get taken to one of the ski resorts up there, and you just take like snowboarding classes.
Dude, what is the risk like?
I know.
I honestly,
I'm so of that. My
right,
God,
no, right? Like I almost died maybe like 3 or 4 times. I was like 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, no, like
I was a young kid
throwing a 6-year-old down the mountain, be like, okay, learn.
And I was on like a low level, but they still take us up to the top, like all the way up the ski lift. You get off with your whole class, you go over to the top of the slope, and you'd be like, all right, kids, let's go. And then like the instructor would have to be like super skilled to like stay in front of everyone around each other. But like, one of the biggest skills in snowboarding is flipping your snowboard horizontally so that you like slow down, you skid down the mountain. And I was terrible at that. So I would always just flip back to like the straight on position, which makes you just shoot down the mountain. And the slope is a big open field of snow, and then off to the sides, about 100 feet to either side, it's like the trees and cliffs that just like go off to other parts of the mountain. And there's like a rope, like a single rope that dangles across the edge to like keep someone there. And I don't know how many times I was just shooting towards that, and I had to just like fling myself onto the tight little nylon rope to like hold on. I'm surprised that it didn't get shut down, but I guess that was back in like the 2000s. So.
Yeah, the consent forms for that were probably ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Like I can't see elementary school kids here going and doing anything of the sort.
No shot.
No shot.
We have to sign to watch a movie.
Yeah, I know. Like we're 18 and then we're like R-rated movies. You know, parents to sign us.
Yeah, I wonder what the equivalent would be here of like an after school program that's that dangerous, because it's not like you could obviously take kids snowboarding around here.
I couldn't think of it.
Yeah,
have y'all seen anybody dirt ski? Like ski on dirt?
Can't say I have.
You guys haven't seen any videos of that?
That's like an Alabama thing.
I've seen like sand skiing.
Sand skiing?
Yeah, because that's like pretty much just dry snow.
Yeah, but like I mean when you hit sand, like you're fine. I mean not fine, that's still gonna hurt. But like I was seeing somebody like just ski on like a dirt mountain, and I was like, wow, this guy has some big balls on him.
No, yeah, I never got good at snowboarding, even though I did it for 4 years. And what the weirdest thing was that you would get back at like 9 o'clock, which the sun, and during the wintertime in Utah, sun sets at 6 p.m. And so it would just be pitch black. It was like, I have these weird memories of driving back on a bus, and it's just.
They must not like their kids in Utah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very stoic place. Besides all the Mormons, it is very like, like everywhere out west, like until you reach California, but west of the Mississippi, people are a lot more stoic. They don't show as much emotion. They got that pioneer energy. Whatever that means.
Damn, dude. I did not know the West was like that.
It is, man. I'm telling you, like all the way from like the Dakotas to Montana and just south until you hit like even Arkansas and Arizona. Just
So the whole point of like West Coast is just California. So it's just California, really. And then all of us. And then
yeah.
So that's sad.
I know.
No, I mean it does make sense though, because like every like especially northern west like states, I have no idea what any of those are.
Yeah,
Northwest?
I think it's like I don't know. It's Portland and like Seattle. I feel like they're the two
Oregon
spots.
Right?
Yeah,
at
like
least the
super
cities.
far though.
Yeah.
But then like in the middle, like what are the major cities?
So the craziest thing is, so I lived in Montana for 2 years, and I lived in the biggest city in Montana, Billings, Montana, and
that's the biggest city,
and it is about the size of Marietta.
Wow.
But what's interesting, well, I guess the weird thing is that Marietta, like you're in Marietta and then you cross a road and you're in another town, essentially, like Alpharetta or Roswell or whatever, and they're all conjoined together. They're not really separate about anything. But Billings, which is larger than Marietta for sure, is plopped there, and then the nearest town is 30 miles away, and it's smaller than Billings, and so you'd just be out in the middle of nowhere. Like if kids went to like a basketball game in like another city, I didn't have basketball, I should say, only football. If they went to a football game in another city, it'd be like a 45-minute drive across just empty farmland until you reach another place, which is just crazy. But besides that, I mean, Utah sticks out from all the Western states. Like I'd say Montana and the Dakotas and all those ones along the Mississippi that I just don't remember their names, maybe Ohio, like all very similar to each other, but Utah is very different because of all the Mormons. It's like more populated, more big cities, different mentalities. But I don't know, man. I talk about this a lot, but it's a big country that we live in. Like there's a lot of people in this country, and like I think I was kind of lecturing them last episode on it, but like I was essentially just saying that like since there's so many people living around the country with all these different ideas that I have like a small insight into because I've lived in so many different places. It's very easy for people to apply all the to apply their life experience or to apply the solutions to their life experiences to everybody in the country. When in reality, like so many people in this country think very different ways and stuff like that. But that's just my soapbox.
Yeah,
I like to get up on.
Yeah, I went to a couple weeks ago I went out to San Francisco, and very, very different than Georgia. But it was fascinating because like exactly what you're talking about. It's just the people there were so different. Like even just walking around, just like not even just something about it when you like go to a new place and you just see the people walking around and how they talk to each other, and like it's just you notice the small things, and I think that's what you really notice is like what they wear, the kind of city it is, but the small like language differences or things like that really
like the nuances of who they are, and those indicate like the big differences that that people have based on their regions. Like those are the ways we like walking down the road here. This is something I noticed when I moved here in the 7th grade is that people are a lot nicer here than when anywhere I've ever lived before. Like just basic interactions, like looking out, like catching someone's eye while you're like walking down the sidewalk, like the way they act is so much different. And I guess like in California, I don't know if you had any like small interactions, whether you're just like buying shit from a gas station, but like do people seem less hospitable?
Yeah, everyone kind of seemed more like, it seemed like a little bit of the New York energy where everyone's doing their own thing kind of. And I've never been to New York, but I've heard that that's the energy. Like you go and everyone's just doing their own thing. And it was kind of a little bit like that. But I had one memorable interaction was with this guy who on the street that was like really, I could tell something was up. Like he was on something.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Going crazy. But, and he looked at me and just kind of like said some, like not even English. And I, like not any other language. So just like noise, like not even words.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, thank you, sir. Have a good one. And just like I turn around and walk the other way.
Yeah, man. The nicest guys are always the homeless ones, man.
So my sister had some friends from Chicago come down, and two guys, like, I don't know, like, I think she knows them through her boyfriend or something like that. But they were down in Atlanta, and they're both into like fashion, like streetwear and like and stuff like that. So like they came to me to get cultured in Atlanta. So I was like, okay, I'll take you guys. I was like, okay, I'll take you guys out on a little day trip. So I took them to 5 Points. I was like, yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, I don't know what else you guys want from me. We had a good time. Took them to a few of the clothing stores. I was like, yep. And then, so since they're from like Chicago and it's like more north, I don't know how shit is up there because I've never been there.
It's a war zone.
Other than Chirac. But like one of them would like constantly like just like try to talk to random people and not in like the southern hospitality way. And like I remember we walked past these group of girls and then he said something and I was like, God damn it, just keep walking. And then we went to Marietta Square after and they were having like this big family event and like he said something else in the parking lot and I was like, okay, that's it. We don't do this type of shit in the South. Like if you want to talk to someone, like you got to approach them a different way. Like you can't just blare some shit out and expect them to come back and interact with you. I was like, you kind of, for the most part, have to, like, approach somebody in a nicer way to, like, keep them in, like, a comfortable state and not immediately put them in, like, panic mode.
Yeah, I'm sure over, like, in Chicago, it's very easy to speak plainly and speak loudly.
Yeah.
And, like, but, yeah, like, I'd say, like, both the South is very hospitable. People are nice to each other, but also, like, the way you approach it's very important because people are
people can
easily
immediately
offended,
get
but like not in like that, not like the traditional sense where they're just like, but like in in a social sense get offended if people come at them very aggressively, because it's not, because the South is also not a very aggressive place, I think.
I feel like the South is a little bit judgy. So like when you come off a little wrong, like it'll immediately set somebody in what's wrong with this guy type of way.
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
God, I mean, cool guy. I just have to educate him on the South.
Yeah, one thing. So you mentioned like that they came for fashion. San Francisco's fashion is crazy. Like I went out there and everyone's so walking around in Atlanta. Like I don't do that, a whole much, but whenever I'm in the area, it's people are just kind of wearing whatever regular
jeans,
clothes.
graphic tees.
Yeah, some people are wearing like some nice clothes, whatever. Not by nice, I mean like just kind of put together. San Francisco, every single person out there has like a full on like. Maybe not, like super high level streetwear or something, but everything is like very put together and they know exactly what they want to wear.
Like their style.
Crazy.
Like, a lot of people dress like that, like buying from the thrift store, and I'm like, props to you. But when I went to London, it was not, I wouldn't say every person, but they're younger, like that, our age demographic. They were all like that too, and I was like, okay, I can vibe with this. It was nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Just people watching was incredible because I just like walking down the street and looking at everyone. Because everyone's like, just I don't know.
It's exciting.
It's weird, yeah.
I mean, I've talked about this before, but I recently went on a road trip. I drove from here to Denver with my brother, and that was crazy, especially getting in Denver, because I had like that same experience of just walking around and just weird shit. One, like thinking of like stereotypes, like most streets do actually smell like weed, like because there's like. The dispensaries are pretty like loud. Like you'll drive by a block, you're like, wow, it's just there. And like that'll go away, and it'll just be like the smell of a city. What was the grossest thing is that there was snow on the ground, and this was in April. There was snow, not snow on the ground, but snow that had been on the ground, shoveled up into peat piles, and then was melting slowly, like very slowly, like over weeks. And like it was just mounds of like gross shit. Because, when you sweep off the streets of Denver and like all the snow and it all collects and the snow melts away, but all the nasty shit doesn't. I don't want to say it's a gross city because that's
it's an acquired taste.
But like compared to here, it's definitely a lot seedier, and that's just Western states. Especially the dryness, I think, adds a lot to the atmosphere. One, I hate dry states. Like I can't go back to Utah because I'll go there and I'll just instantly like dry out.
Oh, dude,
like
acne
my lips,
must not be.
my lips and like my skin will just dry out instantaneously as soon as I get there. But yes, it smells like weed, and the people are. You would think they'd be a little nicer, because they're just surrounded.
They're all potheads.
Yeah, but and I mean, like some of them are like chill and all that, but it's a very stoic place still. Like you're walking down the street and everyone is in their own thing, but everyone has like a dab pen on them, and I don't know. It's weird. I thought it would be. It was both what I expected it to be, but also not at all what I expected it to be.
Yeah, it's so because San Francisco. There's a couple of places like that too. It's probably not as big as Denver, but
San Fran has it.
I was walking. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And then I like realized I was like, "I'm not enjoying it anymore." Like, this is
because I mean, even like you smell something loud outside of QT, like like 2 blocks away, you get just a little sense of like, ooh, someone's doing something illegal. But in other places, and there's certain, which is crazy. It's like in certain places that is like a completely normal thing to notice.
I hate when that smell gets in your car and I'm like, holy shit, if I get pulled over at this moment.
It's not me.
I'm having to step out this car. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know how it just lingers in the middle of the street and it finds its way in your car. And I'm like, damn it. Here we go again.
It's always the AC for me. Like I got to turn the AC off because it just like brings everything in.
That's true.
Smells.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm convinced also. So when I was in Denver, my uncle lives there, and he's like a crazy pothead. And I'm just convinced that like someone like him or someone of his caliber, I feel like Denver potheads could outsmoke anybody. Because not only is it legal and they're just in that environment constantly, but also they have the highest elevation. And so like if they came down to you to smoke, like they would destroy you because their lungs are conditioned to be better than everyone else's because they live at a different elevation. I mean, athletes go train in Denver because it's because of its elevation.
I didn't know it was all that.
Yeah, it's a mile high city. You never heard the mile high city part?
I've seen it on a basketball jersey.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Dude, what team was it for?
The Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
What else would it be?
I was trying to think what the team was.
No, I'm actually like, the NBA's been stepping up their jersey game, and I love it. Like, I loved our Peachtree jerseys last year. I love the MLK ones this year.
Oh, those ones were great.
The Lakers need to step up because, goddamn it, we just did the same shit this year, but invert colors.
Parsa,
Yes.
How's the Hawks and 4 going?
It's actually Hawks and 6 now. Thank you.
I was so surprised.
I wasn't. I mean,
really?
yeah. I mean, the
You
Hawks.
thought the Hawks?
I mean, I don't like. It's my city, so I'm a represent, especially when playoffs. But the thing is, 1, Giannis got injured. 2, Giannis is not fit to be the best player on any team. 3, Chris Middleton is a dud. He'll have 1 good game and 7 bad ones, and then 1 good game, and then I'll be like, oh. But Atlanta's too deep of a team, and I knew if Cam Reddish was going to come back and play, he was going to, like, I was hoping that, 1, he wouldn't be out of shape, and, like, since he's young players kind of miss shots, especially when they haven't played, in a long time, and he hadn't played for, like, 4 months, and then came back earlier in this round of the playoffs. But I knew that, like, we have a good enough team to, like, pick up the slack, especially without, like, Trey there. But I still want Trey to come back.
Oh, yeah. Do you think he will for the series? I feel like
they said it's a question. It's like a game time decision. So we'll see tomorrow night. But even if he does, I feel like we'll get it because Milwaukee fans aren't who lives in Milwaukee. But I don't think Milwaukee fans are going to throw off the team.
Where is Milwaukee?
Is it in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Wisconsin.
It's super
I have
no.
no idea where
It's
Wisconsin
super
is,
no.
though.
The Cheeseheads. It's where, you know how Michigan is split in between its main thing and then across the Great Lake, that little piece connects to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're called the Cheeseheads.
Oh yeah. I heard they can't even keep like half of their state.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always the joke. It's like, why don't they just reconquer that part of Michigan? But
Do they have like ferries that take you from one side to the other?
yeah.
That's such a bad way of living. I mean, I guess it could be cool.
Well, like you mean if you're living in Michigan there and you want
yeah,
to get to
and you got to go to
Michigan,
downtown.
you can either what is downtown Michigan? Oh, it's Detroit, of course. What am I saying? TJ is from Detroit. I'm gonna ask him what it's like to live next to a fucking lake like that. I mean, I shouldn't say a lake like that because
Like an ocean.
yeah, it's
It
huge
connects-
too. It's
yeah.
ginormous.
It looks like a bay.
Yeah, well, I live next to the Great Salt Lake, which is like not as big as the Great Lakes at all. And I live next to that, and that like looks like an ocean when you're standing on it.
I mean, you got the creek like right next door. It's pretty big.
What? Yeah, around here, there's not actually. There's a lot of there's like more lakes here than there are in other places, just because like the
They're not.
jungleness.
None
and
of them are
humidity.
natural.
But they're not. None of them. I mean,
Yeah. No, Georgia Lake is.
here?
All of
Yeah.
them are man-made.
are they?
Hartwell, I was on Hartwell like 2 weeks ago. I didn't realize it was man-made. It's huge.
They're all
It's
man-made.
massive, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Lanier or Allatoona, but it was built over a grave.
Yeah, Lanier's,
Sometimes bodies come up.
that's linear. Did you see like there's bodies that pop up there all the time? It's the
That's
weirdest-
crazy.
it's the weirdest place.
That's interesting. I was just gonna say that. I guess they're smaller but more frequent around here. But like in Utah, you're gonna find if you find a body of water bigger than like a football field, it's the Great Salt Lake because there's like no other big enough lakes.
Really?
Yes, it's a desert. But what's really cool about the Great Salt Lake is have you guys seen the salt flats? Because it's like a huge salt mining, like people actually mine salt from the Great Salt Lake because it's that salty. But there's these huge plateaus, like miles and miles long of salt that's like 4 feet thick. That's either has water underneath it or is just like a beach that is just solid salt, and it's just like salt rocks that like.
I mean, that's cool. Like, can you take that
No,
shit
it's
home
sick.
and
It's sick. Well, like I definitely wouldn't eat it, but like it's so big and like it's fairly flat, even though it like feels jagged. It actually, people like take ATVs on it and stuff like that. Like I've driven on them before. It's pretty crazy.
There's a way to like clean salt. You just gotta like put it in some water and boil it.
Yeah, but you also had to, like chip that
Yeah,
shit
but-
off the ground. I mean,
It's been stepped on for years and years to come. Adam,
Yeah.
do we have the same wallet?
the bond. I was gonna say
Dude,
you
look
got
at
one. You
us.
got one of these.
I did,
things.
bro. Major upgrade in lifestyle.
$60 for this fucking magnet.
Oh, okay. You bought the real one. I bought the fake one. So
They're called the Bonneville Salt Flats, and yeah, this is a picture of them. Like, and I'll show you one.
that
but,
just
like,
looks like snow.
exactly. That's the thing where it's a nice catch. But like it's literally just miles of just salt, and you can just do whatever you want on it. Like, so many of my friends that went to church with me. So like there's this huge thing where every Mormon in the country, in the world, really, like from everywhere in the world, a part of them are all going to go to BYU in Utah. Like after they once they go to college. And so of the population of people from this area that went to Utah and like lived in Georgia their whole lives, it's hilarious because I grew up seeing all these things and they're just experiencing it for the first time. So like they just take pictures of mountains and like, holy shit. They go to the salt flats like once a week and they're just like, holy shit, it's so cool. And I've grown out of it a lot. And so it's weird seeing them experience it for the first time.
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's kind of cool though. Looking at the picture, it does look like snow, like you said, but it's.
I'm sure when you see it.
But it's sick. It's like, so there's a lot of different places, but like the biggest ones, it's like you could stand in the middle of it, look out, and probably not see anything but it's just sand.
I mean, you say you drove an ATV on it, right?
I didn't drive an ATV, but people do that.
Yeah.
I've driven like cars on it and stuff before.
I mean, that's still cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I watched this video recently. This guy, he drove a Tesla at like 200 miles down it just like to test it. He just went there because it's like huge open and nobody cares if you drive on it. So he took his Tesla 200 miles on it for the hell of it.
Does that like mess up your car at all? Just getting like so much salt in
I don't know.
I would expect it to
makes
just
the
be like
wheel-
sand.
Well, it does. Yeah, it's
okay.
not rigid enough to like damage your wheels, but it just leaves this white film all over the butt of your car.
Yeah, car wash can fix it. So, Owen, what do you think of our new logo
I
as
love
a
it.
design guy?
I do. Yeah, and I like it a lot.
You'll never believe who made it.
Did Parsa make it?
Yeah, Parsa
Mr.
made it.
Paul.
Oh man, no guys, don't toot my horn now.
Give him the claps, Adam.
He doesn't deserve it. He asks for it constantly. We're not stroking our own dicks here.
I didn't. Owen did.
Yeah. What a way. What a
Yeah.
way to end it.
Oh man. God. Thank you for coming on, Owen.
Oh, of course. Of course. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's always, I don't know if you felt this, but it's interesting going into it, like hearing your voice so much in your head for the first time can be a little difficult. I mean, like it's still difficult for us, but
It's like once you break that ice, you're in it, and then once you take off these headphones, you'll exactly know the feeling that we feel every time we take
that's so
them off.
true. In about 3 minutes, when you take these headphones off, you'll come back into the real world, and it'll it's not as good as podcast world because you can't hear your voice that clearly. But
Hold on, are you ending it?
I was thinking about it.
Don't.
Okay.
What do you got going on for Endo? Like, what else you got going on?
I was going to ask.
I mean, yeah, but like I didn't know if you were, so.
Okay, yeah, by all means.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I've got, right now, I just kind of started plans for the next idea that I'm doing, which is it's going to be called Think Like a Kid. And so basically the concept is that a lot of times, like, what you end up doing as a kid and like how you spend your time is a lot of times the way that people as adults end up spending their time. And so the idea that like as a kid, your passions and the things you enjoy become what end up being really good at. And so the idea also of like thinking like a kid in a way that you should, like view the world as, because kids view the world as like this crazy place. They've never seen this before. And so trying to reclaim some of that energy oftentimes leads to a lot of inspiration creatively and that kind of stuff.
That's interesting.
And so, so I right now I'm planning on doing some hats, some caps. So with a little design on the front and back.
I'm a big hat guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big hat guy. Actually, I kind of want to dive into this. How like well are you able? Would you be able to tell us more about it?
Yeah. So it was just in like past week maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
But so the idea, like the design that I'm kind of looking at is, basically like when I was a kid, I draw people. I'm sure you guys probably do the same thing. I draw people as like a face with just legs coming out of it. Might have been weird, but and so and that was like the way that I represented a person, was like just a face and legs and arms. And so I'm trying to work with that idea of like a kid-like sketch kind of on the front to embody that idea of like a super simple like kid just sketching this idea. And
that's interesting.
That like free form, just do whatever you want kind of energy.
Yeah, I mean, kids, different variations, but kids, like to focus a lot more on the features of the face and like the head, specifically where they have to have a huge head and then small body parts, because little children focus so much on other people's faces to identify who they are. Like that's mom, that's dad, it's all those things. And that's actually really interesting. I mean, I have, I don't know if you have siblings or not.
I do, yes.
But yeah, I'm the middle child of 7. And so I have had, kids growing up my whole life, and I have a 5-year-old right now, little brother. And like, I'm always just so fascinated at the way he looks at the world, because it does give me, it makes me feel nostalgic about like life in general and how he views the world so purely and in all these different ways, while like, us as adults look at it with all these different marks and, a little bit of jadedness. And so that's very interesting. I'd be really excited to see that.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, like hypothetically speaking of kids, everything's so new to them. So like they're fascinated by damn near everything. And you know, that's like you lose that the more you grow up. So I'm excited to see what you got going on for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So hats, are you gonna make like baseball hats or like snapbacks?
So right now, I'm more of a dad hat kind of guy.
Good. No snapback.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, why would you ever ask that?
Well, I'm just making sure because I doubt that. Yeah, I look really bad in snapbacks, but I look great in a dad hat.
Nobody's looked good in snapbacks since the early 2010s.
What are you talking about? TJ looked great in a snapback.
Okay, well, I did not notice that on his head. Otherwise, he would never wear one ever again.
But yeah, I think maybe dad hats. I don't really know. The funny thing is like for the actual piece of clothing that I wanted to put the design on, and I just really want a brown hat, and I've wanted one for so long. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make it myself. So it's gonna be a brown hat.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, where you get to a point where you're just like, you get to do these, you can do these things on your own. That must be pretty freeing. I mean, like if you to think of like, I want to go outside and wear this shirt, like with this design on it. You know, you feel like you have the means to do that. I feel like that's just a freedom, you know?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Anything else you got for us, Owen?
No, thank you for having me, and yeah, it's been great. So.
Of course. And so obviously the Vault Fraternity came out recently, about like a month ago, I think.
Yep.
And you're still selling shirts from it?
Yeah,
that's
I've still
awesome.
got some there, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm not wearing mine, but Parsa chose to wear his.
I thought we would both wear ours.
Well, if you weren't going to wear it, I was at least going to like have mine in my hands, but I think that's just weird at this point. But by all means, there'll be a link in the description of this YouTube video to go check it out. And I encourage you all to do it. It's a dope looking shirt. I love it. And I love just the ideas behind it, like we were talking about at the beginning with accessing the creativity, because, you know, as much as from the get-go, I have a sort of different view of it. I think I do appreciate a lot like your ideas of the expression of creativity in everyone to different means, not in the means that we typically understand. But thank you for joining us, obviously, and thank you all for listening to this episode of the Floor 26 podcast. I hope you have a great weekend. But besides that, this is Floor 26 out.
See ya.